Okay. Thank you, Paul. Hi, Jane. So we'll get starting. Maybe this microphone is for you,
Okay.
and I will speak into this microphone.
Okay, I can also take this one if you prefer.
We need to have the
Okay.
microphone very near our mouth.
Okay.
Welcome,
yes.
everybody, to Do You Speak Dance? I'm elated to be in the studio today. I'm Elisa from Dance House. I wanted to thank Kiosk Radio for hosting us for this conversation today, organized by Dance House. That is an organization that connects dance with society at large, with different creative practices, and explore how dance contributes to the vibrancy of the cultural scene in Brussels. So I'm Elisa. I will be presenting this talk today. We'll be welcoming many people in the studio. Everybody's not yet in. But I will start introducing this topic, new works, emerging bodies, with Jane Henson, that is here with us. Thank you for being here, Jane.
Hey, Elisa. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. So I'm sure many of you know Jane as a creative powerhouse of the Brussels scene for the cat club parties in particular. But lately, Jane has also been working to create a festival called Bodies in Space and New Works Emerging Bodies, which latest edition will take place on June 20th here in Brussels. So we are especially glad to welcome Jane because she has been instrumental in the development of the dance house and especially the Do You Speak Dance conversations. I'm sure you remember. I was there for the first talk at the Mercerie back in 2004, and that was organized thanks to you.
Yes.
Thank you again. And since then, you've been working with many artists, generating new initiatives and partnerships with different communities across Brussels. So I know that you are someone who prefers to be discreet, and in a minute we will have some of the artists that are presenting as part of the festival. But maybe you could tell us a little bit about your idea for this festival.
The idea for the festival is that I started working with emerging dancers and artists at Mercerie. And Mercerie was more like a presentation place. And at Bodies in Space, we have also a possibility of offering residencies to the emerging artists. And since the residency program worked really well, I think we already had over 80 residents during 1.5 years at Bodies in Space. We found it a bit pity that we didn't show their work to an audience. So that's why we started thinking about a new project to really bring all the creations to the public, to give them visibility. We launched an open call for that. We had over 400 responses to the call. Then we started the selection procedure, which was really a lot of work because it was way beyond our imagination. And the call was so the people if you're selected, you would get residency. You get also a technical residency, and you can show your piece in front of a professional jury. Not a jury, professional people, professional performance people, and also to the audience. And that was a bit the idea behind New Works Emerging Bodies, because I also find it these days very complicated for emerging artists to get visibility, to have a place where they can work, where they can show what they've been working on. And this is a little bit what we do with my VZ2, Meow, already since ages. Is about providing space to the emerging art scene.
You're mentioning the word space, and
Mm-hmm.
that is something that we find very specific about your contribution to the Brussels scene, is that you are often working in temporarily
Mm-hmm.
occupied spaces.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about those areas and what you create from those places? How do you shape programs and bringing together maybe art as a whole and nightlife specifically?
Yes, it's a bit my specialty to find buildings that are empty for a while before they get demolished or before they get renovated. So when I find building, mostly I think about what can the building do for the art scene in Brussels. Or before it was, I used to organize queer parties 15 years ago, but now it all shifted more to dance and performance. And yeah, it's a bit my thing, I think. And yeah.
And just also to carry on this idea, you are also fostering partnerships and collaborations with artistic communities, especially throughout this initiative, Bodies in Space. A few words?
Yes, I think it's very important to work with partners, to have partners, to work with different communities, to work with different collectives, because this is the idea is to bring everybody together in one building, to create together, and to show together also. Um, I don't know. I think it's really important to work with also partners from the scene that are more experienced than us, like the different workspaces we work with, like Caravan, KWP, Le Bump. They also helped us into this project because they're really coming from the scene and they have more experience than us. But their artists also need space, so we help each other mutually. And I think it's a nice way to work together instead of going solo. I don't know. I think you reach much more people working together.
Absolutely. Talking about people, we are going to welcome some of them who have been presenting at BIS. So I will name the artist first, and I will be playing a sound. So as the studio is kind of small, we will welcome them while Jane just leave us for a while, and maybe we'll see you again, and you join us again with JJ at the end of the conversation.
Okay, ça va. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I will welcome into the studio Amina Bulgar, Bayo Asanbello, Ben Kaya, and Selma Stoker. They will be here in a second. And in the meantime, I will be playing a sound that has been given to us by Amina, and it's been created by Amina and Indra. Est-ce qu'ils peuvent venir? Ok. Et Paul, tu peux appeler Paul? Merci. Venez, venez. Welcome. So I think we're going to play with those seats. J'arrive pas à jouer la musique. And we only have 3 stools. But please find a way inside. Maybe we can move. So sometimes you sit it, sometimes you stand.
Do you want to start the song?
The music here.
You'll take the mic off.
Ah, voilà. So here is the sound that Amina has been giving to us. So while it's displayed, est-ce qu'on n'entend pas en fait? On peut pas So I think everybody's going to introduce yourselves, but I wanted to listen and have everyone listen to this tune un peu plus fort. And if I leave the mic, can you tell us a little bit about this loop?
This music was developed by Indri while we were in the residency together. Yeah, we created this track based on another track that really inspired it in a way.
I guess you will come back on the topic of music when we talk about your show. So welcome everyone. Maybe I will let each of you introduce yourself and maybe tell us also about why you decided to participate in this festival, and maybe a little bit about the project that you're presenting as part of this. Comme ça. It's working. Top. Would you like to start? Top.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Amina. I'm a dancer and choreographer, and yeah, I've been based here in Brussels for 3 years, and in those 3 years I've been working on different projects, but also for some time I've been developing my piece Birds Cries. And I got to like really show it in different work and progress settings, where I was just working in like a residency for a few weeks and then inviting the audience to come and see the work as raw as possible, and as raw as I can share it. And I showed the work in like really different contexts, different locations. Bodies in Space was one of them, because it's a different venue than the other venues I got to show my work in. I showed it in the club venue, and also as part of this, I worked with Indri, with a musician I collaborate with, and also a dancer, and Dala Mutib, who was also with me in the studio. And it was a 1 week of exploring and researching.
Thank you. Someone else as part of the trio? So either Bayo or Ben or Selma?
Hi everyone.
Hello.
It's me, Bayo. I'm here with Selma and Ben. And the title of our project is Not to be Laughed at, Unadorned, and Unperfumed, which is inspired by the metaphor of divine prophetesses, and so basically we're artists who work in visual arts, live arts, performing arts, and sound, and collectively our interest was around this sort of space of tension and encounters in our work, and we thought of a work that questions liveness as a non-binary instance. And so how can liveness, live image, live sound, live movement continue to feel like an encounter and unfold? And it's also been a space of relationship for us, because this work in particular is the first work that we've developed, or that we've begun to develop together. And yeah, we've gone through it, and we're still going through it. But yeah, do you want to add anything more?
Hello, my name is Selma. I'm part of the collective with Bayo and Ben called BBS. Yeah, we have started to work on this project at Bodies in Space. We're still working on it. We're showing it on the 20th of June, but as a really a work in progress. We will be performing it a couple times, also including next year. So this is a very first step for us. Something that I guess I can share that also is really interesting about this collaboration between the three of us is that even closer, okay, is that yes, we come from three different backgrounds: visual arts, music composition, performance, and choreography. In this collective, we've had a lot of conversations. I think we love to speak, the three of us, and the three of us are really passionate about what we do, but everything has always been a collaboration in terms of how we speak about our mediums and how can we make them meet in the form of how much live is live. So we're really much interested in liveness, live performance, live music, live visual art, live scenography, live cinema. And so we're always trying to collaborate together at the same time. So we're trying to not make anything before we meet. And everything happens during the performance as we're performing together. So the live music, Ben can talk about it after, but is informing the choreography, the scenography is informing the choreography, and the choreography is informing other things as I am moving, because I will be performing. So it's always a conversation, and I think it's really interesting as a dancer, partly because sometimes you're creating a show and like everything is already set, the scenography is set, and the music comes after. But here we're moving very slow to make sure that all these elements are always in conversation with each other. So it's a very different way of approaching choreography and movement composition that is also very challenging, but I think it is part of this live performing we're trying to make.
Hello, I'm Ben. I'm a composer, also working on the project with Selma and Bayo. Y'all said almost all of it, I think. That's the problem with third. But yeah, I think really the grounds of the project is off this shared experience and shared reflections on material and on medium. And from the sound standpoint, it's really curious how sound being such an abstract, maybe the most abstract art form, how you can realize something thoroughly through this expanse into movement, into visual, into and how sound can expand those mediums as well. And so I think coming together in this way, it opens new pathways in your artistic brain, I suppose, in some way. So grateful.
I think most of you have been speaking about themes that I really wanted to explore for this conversation. So that's very handy, especially this work in progress idea, which I think we might come back to it after something else. And also this very fruitful way that you've all mentioned of collaborating. And interdisciplinarity, also about mixing those different mediums to produce and to create together. So maybe we come back to that afterwards, if that's okay. There is one question that I would like to ask as more of an introduction, as I believe you've been coming over to Brussels at some point, most of you, and I was wondering what in this city or in the opportunities that it offers attracted you. Maybe, and it's also something you can reply to each other. We really want to make this as a conversation, so do not hesitate to ask one another.
Yeah, I think Brussels is it's a very generous city. It's a place that really gives. And I mean, I haven't been here long enough, but I've been here for 3 years, and I feel like I already received a lot of information about the city and how it how things function. I mean, in the creative or the scene, or even socially and systematically. Yeah, I mean, there's also a lot of hostility, I think, in the city. Yeah, in a way you can see it. But it's also very rich in the cultural scene. So you can find a lot of inspirations, or I mean, you can really find your way. At least for me. Yeah.
Anybody want to add something in terms of what has shaped your trajectory here in the city, or a special place or a community which you came across here? Maybe also, I think you mentioned this, which is interesting, the hostility as a tension. Is it any fertile for experimentation in your disciplines?
Thank you very much for that, Amina. Indeed, echoing this question of limitations, there is something about the city that it feels like it limits movement in particular ways, and what then becomes this form of engaging is like finding ways through it's like there's always like lots of changes, new tram lines and like tram stops, and you find another way, and like buildings and construction, and yeah, it's just in the sense of a city, like it actually does feel like a work in progress. Like it's just always trying to like make itself, and into like there's that sense of there's indeed a veneer of like we are working towards improving your experience. And so like there's sort of an hopefulness to what is it gonna be, and I think it creates a sense of like it's exhausting, of course, kind of engage with like, okay, it's changing, but it also kind of creates like an excitement towards, okay, you feel like you're part of something that is becoming. And I think really in this sense of like the architecture, the spaces, it reveals itself, like when you walk through the city, you can miss a lot. There's a lot behind behind the doors, behind like the park, and it's like it's this sort of like you like if you know type of thing, and that I've found in the 3 years I've been coming and going with the city. My relationship with the city changes, but it also becomes more profound. So I think there's a sense of a commitment to everything this city will throw at you, and finding a way to be present, in a way that feels regenerative as well.
Anyone want to add up something, either just to support this idea, or just really maybe radically stand differently?
Yeah, I think I agree with the infinite work in progress. It's and also the hiddenness, I think, is something that can only come from the size of Brussels. I think when you move to like a slightly larger city, you there's too much circulating. And there's always a need. There's not a need for more in a lot of ways. And I think this work in progress aspect comes from the limitation, but also this excitement for new things. And I think that also pulls together all layers of art and all disciplines. And I think that, like what we were talking about with our work, I think it's also a similar. I think that's really extremely possible here. This I noticed so much multimedia work here in all facets. And I mean, you'll be walking down the street, or you'll be on your street that you live on, and there's 5 galleries you didn't know existed because they're just hidden. I think it makes the city more curious, but it's also a large enough city that there's a really nice community. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing your own experience about the city. It's always interesting to rediscover through other people's eyes. But listening to your introductions earlier, I was struck by how it comes in everything you're saying, that it seems that all your practices move across discipline, where dance encounters music or performance encounters poetry, radio. Maybe also you can talk a little bit about this. The storytelling, your own memories, your ritual, the collective histories, the myths, as you said in the Sibyl, the prophetess. And then I was thinking while I was working on this talk that this is also maybe one way of framing the meaning of emergence, not only as something entirely new that would emerge, but something that would be created out of new connections between different forms of knowledge or different type of materials. I think that when we prepared this conversation, Bayo, we talked about Diana Taylor and her idea of this répertoire, which is like a living archive as opposed to fixed archives like books, for instance. And she sort of discussed this embodied knowledge that is transmitted to gesture, performance, and lived experience. So I was curious if you could share about your personal stories or your personal inspirations and how they mix and shape your words, your work.
Thank you indeed for bringing this connection to archive and repertoire. Yeah, with respect to myth, I think an interesting metaphor is the body keeps score. So in thinking of how a body keeps score, a body of knowledge, body of ideas, body of places, bodies of encounters, and I think for me it's been very first of all as a West African person, as a queer person, as a one's like my body's always sort of framed in ways that in order for me to sort of understand what defines what that frame is about, it's going sort of back, you know. So there's a sense of fast flashbacks and flash forwards, in the sense of what's the story, what's this story, what part of it is mine, and what part of it do I want to continue performing, and with who. And so the question of archive is also certain things that has been written or fixed, or finding ways of dislocating it, finding ways of picking a fragment of it, and expanding it, but expanding in such a way that it almost loses any idea of sense. But what is sense, you know? Like meaning again is like this. It's like it's another metaphor, you know. And when we think of metaphors, it's this known thing that we can't describe. You know, it's mysterious, and you're kind of finding ways of creating a sort of frame. And so, in thinking of an archive as a frame, what do we wanna put in it? You know, it's like a bag, so we put a bunch of things in it, and we like carry it along, and we take things out over time, and some things would break. And so, how can an archive, how can memory, how can history be engaged with as something that could be broken, could be missing, could be lost, because all of memory is a performance. We're just continuing something that someone said or someone wrote or someone saw, which might be true, which might not be. And I think it's sort of that playfulness and that sense of desire as well, desire to want to relate, to want to find a sense of, again, meaning yeah, to something beyond us. And I think if there is an archive, it's also very much about finding things that can be held, but things that we can also let go of, so we can continue to keep archiving, I guess.
Amina, is this idea of living archive resonating to you?
Well, yeah, in this project, I the only thing I worked with in terms of archive is mostly the music,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm still interested in. Is like to
Is it the music that we listened at, or
no,
different?
this is newly made by Indri.
Okay.
But like I was like really obsessed with certain with different kinds of music, but the starting point was this obsession with music and with rhythms, and also like with older or like past recordings from the 1920s and the 1930s that I was like really interested in. And I just wanted to start first with the body, with the dance itself, before versus starting with writing or starting with an image or with anything. I just wanted to kind of bring dance in its like simplest form on these sounds and music that I like or that I'm obsessed with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I started working on it, like starting from the first residency I've done until now. So I think of the archive mostly as in the music, but also how to recreate some of these sounds, which I've done with Indri when we were working together, is how to recreate or reshape a sound that comes from a certain time and use it today.
Any reaction, Ben? Selma?
Yeah, I think coming back to what Amina said, I would say for this project, we try to do the opposite of this, which is for me, there's an urge to start with a body as a dancer, to then later on complement it with other forms of media. But for this particular project, talking about archive and what Bayo said, we wanted to not start from the body. We actually wanted to start from the archive of images of how the body was positioned before. And so part of our research is based on a sculpture called Willy Kretz, who is actually my great-grandfather. I discovered that he has been sculpting all his life, and the way that he was sculpting was to start with live movement, so live modeling, live drawings. And I thought it interesting to start the research of the body based on poses of women that have been made before in a particular setting. Also coming back to the goddesses and the prophecy and the Sibyl, the sculptures of like how women were portrayed in which pose were they standing for a long time. So actually studying the live movements and looking at it as a choreographic lens. So like how we were drawing these bodies to then put them into sculptures and sculpt them. How were they getting into this pose at first, and who was directing them? So I think I actually brought some drawings here that I can show you later that we found from there. Yeah?
Show them.
Okay. So these are like live. So these drawings were made by Will Kretz while he was doing sessions with the live modeling. So these women were posing, and he started by drawing them and then sculpting them. And so the way that we're working with the choreography is by we've actually researched these poses, and I've tried to understand really the technicality of like how they were positioned, and like the hands also, and like how in which emotional states they were in, for us to then inform the music and the scenography that comes later. But we try to first come from a very documental point of view, and it's been it really resonates with what Bayo said, because I feel like the reason why we do certain movement and we have certain ease of moving pathways was because they have been done before. And so to research how they have been done and in which context is really interesting for me as a dancer, because it gives a big value to reactivate a performance. I think we're no longer really talking about performing a certain thing, but activating certain patterns that have been done before. So, yeah.
Ben, maybe on the music?
Yeah, I mean, archive as a topic, it's a very broad, it spans a lot. I think my perspective on archive is it's just something that you give importance to in some way. So, for instance, with the Willy Kreitz imagery, it's a memory, it's a familial memory for you. For you, it was this importance of music that you truly care about. So in some way, it still lives through you, through this performance. You give it that importance, and without that, it's not an archive. There's nothing that exists. I think working with sound in this project, it was I have to look through a bulk of visual work, a bulk of historical matter, and then I have to boil it down to something microscopic that we all discussed and we went through. And for me, it started with instruments and instruments. It was easy to kind of make a subgroup of instruments informed by all of this, and that process of being informed then led rise to a more informed and sensible output. So I think there's the concept of archive, to me, being just applying intention. You can pull what you need and what you desire and appreciate with affection out from what already exists in some way. So I don't think it necessarily needs to even be a tangible thing. I think it can be as simple as something you thought of 10 years ago, but you place that importance onto it. You don't, that importance isn't there until you give it, I suppose. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this. And I believe that we will play, maybe at the end of the conversation, a piece that you were so kind to share with us. And to continue on this idea of music, it also it raises a question for Amina, maybe first. Since the pieces that you've shown as part of Bodies in Space, new work Imagine Bodies, has been showing also in different venues or different contexts in front of different audiences, and as a traveling piece, if I can use this word, I was curious about, to you, what changes can you see from one performance to the other, and what importance would you give to those kind of work in progress showings? What does change? Is it the scenography, your own dancing body?
Yeah, because I showed it in different settings. Like I showed it like in a black box, but also in by the sea, for example, and in a club, in Bodies in Space, and in really different settings. Of course, it makes the audience react to it differently based on where it is, or they see different things. Sometimes things that I don't see myself, or that I did not intend to include in the performance. But I think because it's a work in progress, it's not a final performance. Every time I showed it, there were things that remained constant, like um, the the theme of, for instance, of course, stays, because this obsession with music, or this state of musical ecstasy that I want to bring in the solo, it really remains constant in all of these different showings. Um, some things also become emphasized. There's a lot of improvisation in this performance as well, and the scenography remains the same too. It's a very simple scenography, and where the audience are quite close to me, and sometimes the audience reacts very awkwardly towards this proximity.
Such as awkwardly.
Mm-hmm.
What is awkwardly?
I think mostly we're like used to see dance now in a black box, or like from far. You see the dancers really far away from you, and there's this fourth wall that divides the two of you, and you cannot come close. In all of the showings I've done, I showed it in an very intimate setting, and this was the whole idea: is that how can I because I was mostly working alone in the studio, and I was like, how can I invite people in and actually not hide from them, but to really invite them in the place, and to share all of our emotions together, and create this intimacy between us. So this is something that also stayed throughout the whole times I've showed it.
Great. There's one word that you mentioned, and that was also mentioned by Bayo. It's this word improvisation, and especially, I believe, collective improvisation. So, how does it factor in your performance?
This idea of improvisation is it's really thinking, or I would say my relationship to improvisation is such that it's it's this attempt of putting things into a funnel, into kind of a box, and seeing what comes out of it, and so it's an idea that is trying to reshape itself. And I think I'm against the idea of improvisation being this sort of like, oh, come up and like say something, or it's improvisation comes with lots of preparation. It's like a life work, it's ongoing. And I think for us, it's very much also about what's the relationship we want to sustain, because we're it's not just about making it up as we go. I would use this metaphor again of like maybe faith in it till we make it. So
fake it till you make it.
Faith in.
Okay.
So faith in it till we make it then becomes we have faith in this thing that we don't yet know, and we believe in it so strongly that it's there. And so this idea of improvisation is like really thinking about, I think I have it, and really believing in it so strongly, because for us it's very much that journey of it's like this work has kind of been, this work that the three of us, it's been faithed, because in conversation with Ben, we were thinking about the different instances that made it such that we met, we thought about something, we put it out, we were selected, it's moving, and slowly it's creating its own trajectory. And so it's something that is beyond us, but it means that we really put a faith into first ourselves and first also in this idea that we have and how so much it resonates, and it then becomes like Sibyl, but that's also the idea of Sibyls, that's the idea of prophecies, is that it's an improvisation. It's an idea that keeps making itself and that people believe. And I think indeed, like, we part of this idea of not just to bring it back to that word of a sibyl is also a sentiment connected to how a sort of a devotional practice. Sibyls were deities and divinities that people would go deep down in caves, to worship.
Yes.
And it's in the dark, and it's like they can't even see they can't see them, but they have this belief, and you have sibyls all across the world. So it's sort of this myth or this idea that exists. There's a Delphic Sibyl, there's a Libyan Sibyl. The Libyan Sibyl is named after Africa because in Greek the old name for Africa is Libya. You have an Erythraean Sibyl. It was a Sibyl who predicted the arrival of Jesus. So you have this idea of like a prophecy of something. And I think for us, how do we bring this idea to the present of we have human intelligence, we have artificial intelligence, we have the first humanoid robot who is like a female Sophie, we have Baba Ganoush or Baba Yaga, like just a whole form of like improvisation. So it's stories and it's myth and it's meaning and it's a need to connect, it needs to relate with each other. I think that's what improvisation is for me.
I think it's also, I agree a lot on that. I think there's an act of letting go for sure. And that's, I think, if I was to boil it down, there's an ease in art and creation to control and grab and need to grab everything as much as you possibly can. But I think once you set those boxes, no matter how tight they are, there's so much room for everything. And I think a lot of the work, what we talked about was this unviewable, understandable movement, micro movements in the body, in the air, things that you can't, they leave as quick as you could even perceive them. And I think that's an improvisation in itself, that's unexpected. And I mean, like Bayo was saying with the prophecies, that's also something that can't be, it's in the moment. There's no predictability, it is predicting, but there's no predictability. There's this timeline shift as well. And I think capturing what's truly in that moment is almost a beyond human experience. So I think it's really curious into that element of how much live is live as well. I think there's a deep tie-in, but that's a whole nother.
That was actually my next question. Because
Perfect.
again, when we prepared this talk, Bayo, you said something to me and I found the same expression in the description of your work, that is performing life like an event, which I found so inspiring, as if all of us would be characters of our own novel somehow. Maybe I'm very curious to hear you elaborate on this. Maybe Selma?
Yes. Yes. Also to complement and to answer your question, I feel like as a performance, there's something that you cannot really, you can only rehearse so much a performance. Like there's something that a lot of people that are performers are counting on, is what you were talking about, the audience, the energy that they give you, like how you share, how you invite, is something that actually happens when you're performing. And so this magic and this thing that Ben is also talking about, it's not like we're counting on this, but we are pretty much aware that when we enter a performance, there is a conversation that is being made passively between what is being shown and how people are receiving it. That is always a back and forth. And so how I'm working also with Ben and Bayo is that we try to not rehearse, we try to perform, because we try to enter this state of conversation with the music and with the scenography that you can only see maybe when people are watching you. And so this thing of like the Sibyls giving an answer to the people, and like the models posing because they're being watched, and that's how the sculptures are being made, is always like how the conversation of when you're giving something, how you're being viewed, and also when you're receiving music and scenography, what do you do with it? And so we try to always be in this tangent place, this in-between place almost, where things are not evident, but we let things be. And to rehearse this and to work on this is actually really, really hard, because we only count on this maybe the day before the performance, or the performance itself. We're like, let's let the magic happen. And so this is, I feel like, what you're talking about, like the performer entering all these characters, and like us accessing this space that is very a fragile space for everyone. We try to be in the liveness of the conversation, and to rehearse this so it doesn't become a mechanical improvisation, basically. To always try to be in the conversation.
Thank you. Maybe just to conclude this part, and if you like to share about this, I know that Bayo, you are part of this 25 AV residency program that involves radio. And I was wondering, what is the performative dimension of radio in relation to this project, and maybe beyond? What happens when broadcasting becomes performance?
Wow, thank you so much, because it's how, what I also love is how our conversations are like circling back to what's previously said. And like this idea of radio, it's also connected to like this question that very much moves my performance research and performance practice. I'm not a performer, but I perform as a writer, I perform as a researcher, I perform as a director. And so then in a space of relationship, thinking of it as an event, what's the event? I think for me was also like, what's the event I want to create? I want it to be shared, and like thinking of a shared experience of a radio broadcast is an event, it happens. So there is gonna be with the conversation we're having now. Sure, it's gonna be archived, but this particular moment, what's being said, it's those tuned in who are connected to this event at the same time as us. The moment of going to the cinema, going to see a show, meeting friends. I think the idea of a performance is that we aren't only going to see this show; we're going to see each other. We want to connect to the same thing at the same time, and so there's something actually quite intimate. And I think this idea, this interest to radio as a spatial, temporal moment in time, which when I think about the radio, I think about growing up. I think about drives in the car. I think about, because it's that sense in which everyone were listening to the same thing, and it's so powerful, because I think we can all come back to that past moment as if it was in the past, because it's like it's still sort of. So I think it's really this. There's something about play and joy, and I think for us it's actually very interesting that this context of a program that uses radio as a frame to engage with a live event, which is very much so, also allows for space for openness, because I guess in a different context, in a different residency, would we be able to make this type of work? And so I think for us, it was an immediate resonance to, this is something that very much echoes what our interests are about, and that it's not so much thinking or being in isolation. It's wanting to, I guess, challenge and like sort of dial in into the same frequency. And it's I think it's just that sense of power, and I use again the metaphor of, for me, desire is connected to power, because it's this sense of we want to engage, we want to make this type of work, we want to create a space of encounter, we want to create a space in which, while things appear fixed, they're also they're shifting, and it's dynamic, and yeah, I think I love that idea a lot.
Me too. Don't hesitate if you want to add up something. Or as we are moving to the end of this Do You Speak Dance conversation, I was wondering maybe we can return to where we began, to this idea of emerging bodies, and maybe to know for each of you, what would you say is really emerging currently in your practice right now, and eventually maybe leave us with one image or a sentence, a wish, a question, a motif that you have in mind.
You start.
What's emerging in your practice?
Sure, we can go in this way. I think right now, for me, in the very immediate, I mean, with this project and with all the other projects that I'm currently occupied with and thinking about, is some type of consideration. I think when I was younger, it's very easy when you're beginning creating work to be really stuck in your box. And I think what I realized is, once you have all the technical skill, once you have all the understanding, once you have historical knowledge, once you're informed in all ways, you still need to consider everything. So I think I'm going now through this act of going back and back and back, and considering not only the steps that led me to what I enjoy and why I do this, but also where I go in the future.
For me, what is emerging in my practice would be a continuation of what is already starting to emerge, which is this conversation between with different art forms, and also with the public. So basically just continuing to consider movements because of the things that are affecting us as dancers and our movers, and coming back to the archive and the research of like, where did these movements came from, and how can we reactivate them in conversation with other media, basically.
And Amina, maybe the last word?
I think what occupies me now is the idea of a collaboration. I mean, since I'm collaborating with others on this performance, I also think of this division between, like, for example, music and dance, that I don't want to collaborate with for example, a musician to just work on the music, and then I work in my own department as a dancer, and to have this gap between us, and to, like, how can we create something that we also get to play different roles in, so that I can also think of the music as a dancer and be an active part of it, instead of just leaving this role behind to someone else.
I'm gonna read some excerpts from poem that informed the visual, the scoring of this work we're developing. All dark upon arrival, tiny worlds come into view. You feel something is happening, but you can't see it. Fred laments. We keep using words for what needs to be said, for what needs not be said. The Sibyl, uttering from her lips, prophecies unbound from time. not to be laughed at, unadorned and unperfumed, for 1,000 years to come.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful conclusion. I want to thank everybody, Bayo, Amina, Selma, and Ben, and Jane for organizing this festival. Thank you to Anais also, who has initiated the dance house and this Do You Speak Dance conversation. And thank you to Kiosk Radio for having us in the studio. Thank you to Jeanne also, who's in charge and working hard at the dance house. I will see you soon.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Ciao, arrivederci.